podcasting time. I've got Colin Thomas here from Essential Maintenance and WeWillFixIt Dubai, which means it's DIY time. No?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm actually over the moon that we're doing the podcast because I've been doing the business breakfast on Dubai I this week or last week. Well, the thing with the business breakfast is you don't know which you're going to get. Are you going to get the really nice scenario, the nice gentle interview, which is what I got, thank goodness, or are you going to get a grilling? So the preparation that goes into a 7-minute interview.
Hold on. Here, let me do an impersonation here. So, Colin, can you please tell me how many buckets of water have you and the team had to, so gently tip into the gutter? Who am I imitating there?
That's definitely not Brandy. No, it worked out really well, but I'd already turned them down once, and if you can imagine, the one time you don't want to be talking to people is when you're utterly up to your eyeballs. Yeah. And for us, it was the commitment. So
sure.
If you imagine with our essential maintenance customers, then it was insane. And 62 phone calls in 3 hours of just our committed customers.
That's incredible.
Yeah, well, I don't know how the team managed it, but they did. And we managed to get to everybody, which was fantastic. But 650 phone calls in 3 days for bookings was just horrendous. And it's all nasty stuff. It's not stuff that is good for us as a business. It just needs doing.
And that's always the interesting thing when we think about maintenance and repair and that kind of stuff. There's the stuff that is great for making cash, and that is your tried and true, and that you guys are experts at. Yes. And then there's the stuff you're experts at that is going to take more time, and the more time it takes to do the work and the more labor is involved in things, it suddenly doesn't become cost effective for you to be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worse than that. And it's okay sometimes. If it's going to be a long job, then it kind of wipes its own bum, so to speak. But the real difficult ones are this, which is quick in, quick out with lots of downtime in between jobs, where we've just sat around or travelling from one location to another, burning fuel, burning time, and not really earning very much. And also with a lot of these kind of things, it's a case of, you know what, you just need to let it dry out before we can do anything. So then we're doing a double trip. At that point, I'm losing money.
Oh, that's it. You got to come and see it.
Yeah,
you got
exactly. And then I've lost money.
And that's what you guys don't do. That's not part of your mantra. It's make the call, we come, we fix, we leave.
But that's one of the difficulties with an annual maintenance contract, which we are committed that we need to turn up, even though we know fully well that we've got to wait for it to dry. We've got to go. And that's painful. And financially, we know that that's a horrendous scenario. But we still need to do it. Not even a question. We will.
So we've had some bad weather. Bad weather's clearing up around the world. The bad weather comes and the bad weather clears up.
Yeah.
What are the lessons, the take homes from this? and I don't mean the take homes for you guys, but the take homes for someone like me.
Yes.
Who, and I mean, I even had some issues, which were delicate. They weren't bad issues, but they led to some cleaning happening that I said to the guys, this hasn't happened when it should have happened.
Yeah.
And they kind of, and they even kind of looked and went, yeah, you're right.
You know the really interesting one, which was anybody who has got their windows cleaned in the last year already knows where their leaks are. However, we've had no rain in 2 years. Yeah. So most people who haven't had the windows cleaned haven't got a clue. And then it all happened. So first things first, get your windows cleaned. And actually not with us anymore, but the window cleaner UAE, Noel, who we sold our equipment to, and it's great equipment, is the ideal guy for that.
Window cleaner UAE.
The window
cleaner
UAE on Facebook.
Okay.
A guy called Noel Meehan is doing a fantastic job, really, really well with that, which is lovely.
So when you get your windows cleaned, I never thought about this. They soak them down. If you've got grouting or seals that are no good,
seals,
boom, you're going to get water in.
And you know immediately.
So you know to get that fixed.
Exactly. So 2 years of that. The other thing, which was just an utter no-brainer that nobody ever thinks about, is block drains. We've had so many customers, and literally the 5-minute job of us coming in with a plunger, walking through the puddles that or the swimming pool that was their balcony, and literally just plunge, boom, out it goes in seconds. Has been, I mean, that's that job we've done, I don't know, 20 times an hour. And
so I mean, I'm holding my head a little bit here. I'm literally holding my head. as a homeowner, I mean, when I have a block drain on a balcony, that's the first thing I think of doing. I just go to the washroom, grab the plunger. Okay, let's do a few little things to see.
Yeah, but you're DIY savvy, you know,
Okay.
and most people look at it and go, "Oh my goodness, what are we going to do about this?" And so that's really where we come in. That's our business.
You know, the first thing I did when I had a balcony drain that was blocked and I saw it pooling out there, I went, oh, is I went down to the ground floor where it comes out and I took a look to see anything down here that's plugging this thing? Because I thought, oh, not much water coming out. And then I thought, 2 years of sand, there's a lot of sand in there.
That's almost always it. The other one is if you're in a new property that hasn't been tested yet. So, for instance, if your cleaner, and to be honest, there's reasons not to do this, but if your cleaner doesn't do the whole bucket straight the way over the balcony and then mop everything down into the drain, there's a good chance that you've got construction cement in that floor drain. And in that scenario, you are in deep, deep trouble, to say the least, because that isn't something that we as a maintenance company could deal with, and very few companies in Dubai can. You need literally boring equipment in that situation to be able to retrieve it. Much better idea. Normally, because it's kind of a new property, go straight back to the developer and keep on their case, because they're going to have to treat it as a nightmare as well, because that comes at a big cost for them to sort out.
So drains.
Yeah, drains are absolutely awful. Next one, the normal weatherproofing issues, which are the number of people that have water coming through their roofs. I was talking to Glenn actually yesterday.
He had lots of leaks. He was away and came back to leaks, he told me.
Yeah, he's got plenty going on, and it's the same development that has got loads of issues there. Dan had leak issues as well with his, which is an interesting one.
Okay.
And he hadn't
he's been there for a while.
Yeah, he hadn't had any problems at all before. But the difference is this time we got like a really huge downpour extremely quickly.
We got a year's worth of rain, a year and a half's worth of rain.
Yeah. We had little bits. I mean, nothing remotely dramatic. And as Ruby kept running around the house going, "Oh, there's another leak! There's another leak!" I'm like, "Ruby, relax. We're going to be just fine." But these are just all the minor things that you expect in a city.
It's over time, isn't it, that we start to see problems with, at first maybe it was okay, and then, joints move, whatever was sealing that joint moves. And I always find it incredible with water. It only takes a tiny little space that water finds its way through and then just starts doing its trick.
Yeah, and quite often, literally, it's so small you can't even see it. Yeah. So then you literally have to treat the whole area, and you're going, what's this all about? I might be doing this for absolutely no reason. Yeah. Well, you don't know that. Yeah. It's that difficult. But there's two kind of scenarios here in Dubai. You've got those properties that haven't yet been tested. So as a result, under 2 years since handover, haven't really had any major rains. And then you've got the other ones, which is degradation over time. So as you said, that expansion and contraction each year means that all of the expansion joints are drying up, and alternatively, as the physical property itself expands and contracts, and the constant temperature changes day and night through the summers, each summer, every single day, it's massive differences. Yeah. And this all has an effect over time.
I had an interesting one with an air conditioning unit that went out, and it was, first thought, I check all the breakers and I notice the breaker is blown, and then, reset the breaker, it blows again. And I go, oh dear. And I'm thinking, I'm not going up on that roof. I mean, because usually I'm the guy who does that. So, put on my rubber boots, put on my rubber gloves, climb up the ladder. I just looked at it and said, I'm not going up.
No.
And so fortunately it cooled down. It was fine.
Let's just explain that. That's worthwhile. Why you wouldn't go on a roof in that scenario. So you've got 3-phase power. So 415 volts. And at that point, that can kill you. Yeah. So we're not playing around here. This is the scenario whereby if there is water on your roof, stay well away, especially in the scenario that rather than cleaning the ACs, which again should be left to a professional. We've talked about that numerous times. But in any kind of rain or standing water that's been left there, the whole thing, if there was a breaker failure, there's a potential that it could be live. So don't.
And that's exactly what I thought. So finally it dries out, and I make the call to the maintenance guys to come and do it, because I'm not calling them when it's raining. That first gut reaction is get on the phone to these guys. I'm going, I don't want them up on the roof doing anything in this weather. I don't need this. Yeah, I don't need it.
Yeah.
And so finally it dries out, and I go up there and I'm looking, and I'm going, everything seems okay. And I reset the breaker, everything dried out, and it worked.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the breaker box. My first thing, I'm just looking. I'm not touching anything. I'm just looking. And I look at the breaker box and I notice on the top, and so this is a 21-year-old piece of equipment.
Yes.
And on the top of the box, you have the ports where you can run wires through, because there's nothing sealing those 2 ports now.
Yeah, well, the 2 ports are quite often, those won't be sealed. It'll only be at the exterior point.
And so then I look into those little holes and I can see all the wiring. So I'm going, well, there's what happened.
But it shouldn't, if you imagine, that should be sealed at the point where it becomes exterior.
Right. So
the opposite end of that.
So yeah, that side was sealed, but the top was wide open. So,
I get you now. Right,
so it was, the gray box.
Yeah.
And there looked like to me there could be 2 push-outs.
Yes.
And the push-outs were gone. And I looked into the holes and I could see the wiring.
But if you imagine, water isn't supposed to be getting into your DB.
No, exactly.
So at that point, see, this is one of the difficulties, which people often say, and, my technicians, we have the discussion ourselves. You know what, sir, I can fix this. All I need to do is to put silicon straight in the access port, the conduit at the DB, and away we go. The problem is, if you imagine you're then coating all the wire north of that going to the roof is going to be full of water.
Yeah. Well, this is on the roof. So I'm on the roof looking.
Oh, you're on the roof?
Yeah,
I thought you were at the DB, which is inside the house.
No.
Oh, now I get you. Oh, no, you've got a problem then.
I'm on the roof,
yeah,
looking, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, what happened here? I've called the guys, but I just want to.
So what that should have had is a gland.
Yes.
Okay.
It was gone.
So just to explain to people what a gland is, basically this is a waterproof connection that's used, and what you have is you have 2 parts of it. Threaded, always use nylon, don't use plastic because they fall to pieces in no time, and they're widely available here. And basically what you do is you put it through the wire when you're physically putting it into the unit in the first place.
Okay, so it had that.
It had a gland.
It had the gland on the bottom.
You had the push-outs that were
on the
already
top.
pushed out.
They were gone.
That's weird.
I know.
That's really
and so
weird.
I was looking at it. So I went and looked at the other boxes, because of course there's 4 air conditioning units on that roof. All of those are intact. And I can only think that it's because of where this particular box is situated with sun that they replaced it. They just put a new one on it. But water was literally going into this box.
Lovely. Just what you need, isn't it? Well, at least you know.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that's really unusual. Yeah. We had one that we were chasing for the whole 4 years that was in the last place. And it was only whenever it rained. And I think that we must have had a very low earth somewhere that was causing the issue. And also if there was any kind of earth leakage in the unit, which is kind of normal to a small degree with an older unit, then I think that's what was causing our issue, but we could never get to the bottom of that one. It was just painful.
So then the gentleman did the cleaning, because since they were there doing this, we'll do a cleaning. I was absolutely impressed with the amount of sand, even after a year's worth of rain in 3 days that was pummeling these units, how dirty they still were.
Well, if you imagine, the rain will only clean out that very first, millimetre of the coil, and the rest of it is going to be exactly the same as it was anyway. So it
was a phenomenal amount of sand that came out. I mean, I even looked at it and said, this seems, because I'm always there when they do the cleaning. I said, this seems more than usual. They said, they're dirty. Yeah. So that was interesting. The other side to that whole thing, and this leads back to a conversation we've had over and over again about getting your heating and cooling systems serviced. Ducts.
Yeah.
Had the ducts cleaned.
Cool.
They were so dirty.
Yeah, they are.
I mean,
they can be.
I mean, it was horrible.
Let's just talk about that and maybe backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
So 3 elements to an AC, which is, I want my ACs clean. Right. Well, what you actually mean by that is you want them physically and chemically clean. To do that, you basically need a combination of 3 services, which is an AC service, which is basically the full mechanical clean of the unit, and also the cleaning of the filters, which would be standard as part of that. What it doesn't include, because it takes an additional 4 hours per unit, is the coils. Yeah. What it also doesn't include is the ducts, because they are another hour and a half. So if we were to charge out for a standard AC service for, what would that be? So it'd be 4, 5.5, 6.25 hours of labour per unit, then we'd end up at a very high price point that nobody would book.
Yeah, ever.
So it's not really feasible. That is what a full service is. But practically speaking, most people aren't going to do that, are they? Because of the price point. So therefore, what we suggest to people is When we are servicing your units, we're going to pull the whole thing apart anyway so that we can service it properly. At that point, we can see the condition of your coils, we can see the condition of your ducts, we can take photos if you want them, and at that point, we can give you honest advice about what the right thing is to do.
I like the DIY porn. I really like that DIY porn when the guys are up there, and I always get, I was watching them, and which must not be pleasant for them because I'm standing there just observing and seeing.
The job's done, right?
Yeah, but I'm always then watching as parts are being pulled out and taken apart, and it's like taking the dash off a car. You don't really want to see all this happening because I'm just going, you guys are going to be able to get this all back in place because I'm watching you take it out, and it doesn't look like something that really should be taken out all the time.
Yeah. Well, there can be that issue, but again, if it's an AC unit that's working correctly, anyway, then all that you're trying to do is to open it up so you can clean it rather than actually start replacing all these bits and pieces. And
it was the stuff, as you said, pulling parts out. Yeah, it was the dirt behind things, and the gunk, and the jelly. There was jelly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's normal. Oh, it's awful, but it's normal. So where it really gets quite interesting. And the other nice thing actually about doing an AC service first is it is the cheapest of the services that are available. So therefore, do the cheapest, get a free diagnosis at the same time, and away you go. Yeah. It's logical for anyone. And what it also means, which I really like, is the fact that if at that stage we're saying this work needs doing, it definitely needs doing. But you know what? For the other units, it doesn't. So we're saving money there, which is the logical, efficient way of working. So coil cleaning and duct cleaning. The coil, and you're right, when it looks like a scene out of CSI when you're coil cleaning, because first of all,
whole room is covered in plastic.
Total room plastic covered. Then we're taking out every single part of that AC to get to the coil. So the fan motor goes, the tray goes, all of the ancillaries that are in the way go before we can actually get enough space to that coil to be able to clean it properly in position. There are plenty of companies out here that take the physical coil out, and in fact, we used to. And
why'd you stop?
Simple reason, actually, which is to take a coil out, you've got to basically cut and disconnect the pipes that are there. To put it back, we have to weld inside your ceiling.
No. Oh no!
Exactly, safety issue.
Yeah. So safety issue, and there's always going to be a part where when you're welding where you can't see.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you cut in a place where you can see. Yeah. But it is just a pure safety issue for me, which is 99 times out of 100, you're going to be absolutely fine. However, when you do 100, there's that one time when you're going to have a problem. Now, other people are prepared to take that risk. I'm not. Simple as that. So
does it change the quality of the clean by removing coil, leaving coil in?
It is easier to clean it when it's out, without a doubt. So we basically invented a whole bunch of tools. In fact, we invented the whole system.
Have you patented all this?
No, it's an adaptation from a unit that was designed originally for exterior cleaning in remote locations. So battery pack and all this kind of thing. These days, we've kind of modified it. So we have lengths of copper pipe that help us to be able to get to all the locations of a coil to still be effective. Yeah. So it's one of those that has evolved over time to work as well as pulling it out. Okay. So that's coil cleaning for you. Then stick it all back together. That's 4 hours of work, and solid work without a doubt. Duct cleaning. So for that, there are two main systems that are available here in the UAE. There is one which is called negative air. And what they do then is the vent that you see on the wall, they put a big connector on it and then an enormous tube that goes to a massive vacuum cleaner that's like 20 times stronger than the vacuum cleaner that you use at home. And the idea is that you seal it perfectly, and then it basically pulls, as from the other side, you've got a brush on a big long wire and a drill that they push down and they knock all the stuff off, and immediately it gets sucked into this unit. The problem is, over time, and especially here in the UAE, where maintenance of the equipment isn't necessarily all that good, you'll find that you don't have that perfect seal around the vent, and all of that dirt will escape into your home. Yeah, lovely. Very, very risky. And it's not nice stuff, to say the least. No.
It's this fine silica dust.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's horrible.
Yeah. So I think we were the first people, again, kind of 8 years ago, to work with a company called Rotobrush here. And it's quite a classic now, because the distributor when people come in and they talk to them and say, oh yeah, that's the one that WeWillFixIt have. Oh fine, we'll buy that then. It's like, oh, Carl, really? But luckily there was a lot involved in terms of the training to make sure that the guys use this effectively. And what this does is it is a smaller hose, which in the middle has the wire for the brush, which is on the end of this. And then on the outside of that is the vacuum that goes directly into a HEPA filter.
Okay.
So with this one, the brush hits the dirt on the side, it gets loosened off. Directly behind the brush is the vacuum. So as soon as it comes off, sucked into that, and away we go. So there's no contamination risk.
Lovely.
So yeah, so that's the route that we go. And again, these days we've got quite a lot of those units that are operable.
I don't think my ducts have been cleaned in years. Like honestly, the amount of dirt that came out of them.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, the other thing you need to look at really carefully is what kind of ducts you have. Because if they're lined and insulated on the inside, which older ducts can be, you can end up in a whole world of pain.
Oh.
So you have to be really careful with
insulated on the inside.
Good. If it's just metal, you're in a great position.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that around the back.
Why would people insulate on the inside? That seems counterintuitive to me.
Do you know, I hadn't really thought about that.
I understand insulating on the outside.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe it's the idea that if you put the insulation on the inside, it doesn't heat or cool the ducting itself.
That'd be it.
So that it's
due to condensation.
Right.
I mean, literally, I'd never thought about that until now. It's due to condensation. If you imagine when you turn off an AC, if you've got a cold metal surface, at that point, it's going to pull water.
Right.
When it pulls water, then you turn on the AC again later on. You've got all that water that is looking to go either in your fan motor if you're in the return, or alternatively, it's going to come out of the vent, which then goes down your wall, which we've all seen.
Yeah.
So that would be the logic. Anyone that's got a little bit of a brain will put a little bit of a U-bend in there, or a slight uphill to avoid that happening. But yeah.
So if you've got that lining, you're in big trouble.
And no, you need to make sure that
if you scrape it off, then you...
Yeah, you just need to be very careful in the way that you do that. And again, we have brushes specifically for that. So there's soft or hard brushes, so you can work with it. You just need to know what you're doing, which is the difference between, ourselves, we've been using this for 8 years, and the guys who bought it last week. Yeah. So very different scenario.
And, I started to wonder, from back home and that, how, because I was thinking of my own, places I've lived back in North America where we have central heating.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will get central air attached to that central heating.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was trying to remember how often we ever had our ducting cleaned. I'm thinking never.
But also, it's the nut systems there. Like, have you seen a lot of them are floor based,
right? Yeah.
And all that they are is 4 planks of wood which create the duct for you.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's not even that smooth. So therefore, everything gets snagged on it. And you see the videos, and these aren't the crazy videos where it is just full of fluff.
Yeah.
Totally full of fluff. Oh yeah, I haven't done this in 10 years. Oh really? That doesn't show. It's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way that we are here. But the difference is, if you imagine we're in such an extreme climate, that whereas in the US and a lot of places you're talking 1 or 2 furnaces or HVAC systems. Here, it's every single room and quite a bit of kit. So a slightly different scenario, I think.
We haven't talked in a while. We've had a little bit of break. We've had holidays. We've had this, that, and the other thing. When we left, 4 hours of work left on the shed.
I'm down to 2.5.
2.5 hours left.
I've done the front side with all the beading.
Yeah.
And then I got called in for something, and then that was it. I was in deep trouble. I was just I was working my way through, and it was going actually remarkably well, apart from one piece I've messed up, which is just irritating.
Can you fix it?
I bought plenty of spares, knowing fully well this would happen.
Yeah.
So I just need
because this is a shed on the outside of your house, so you're going to see it all the time.
Yeah.
You walk the dogs.
Yeah. So it's basically the beading, which is an L section that of wood, which is about 1 inch on either side. But if you imagine, that's not a very stable wood piece. So it's actually quite hard, but it's also a bit brittle. Oh. So trying to get it to joint correctly is actually quite difficult. So I was kind of learning as I went along. So some of my early ones were not that great. So I need to get back over those. But saying that, the later ones I'm really happy with.
See, and that's the whole thing with DIY, isn't it? I mean, you just naturally get better by the time you get to the end of the job.
Well, what I find is I always way over order what I need. And then that way, if I screw up a few along the way, I kind of know myself, which is the first ones are not going to be pretty. And by the end of it, it's going to look just fine to go back over the previous stuff.
Yeah.
So and the zinc nails worked out really well.
Oh.
So that's been really
Is
good.
it's like a zinc dip, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're dipped in zinc, and then that way, there's nothing worse. It drives me up the wall when you see the just a standard iron nail head that over the years has just put all the rust straight the way down the wood. I'm like,
now with the zinc though, as you're hammering and you finally hit your nice little finish, aren't you going to be taking some of the zinc off and?
No. Well, I guess it's probably anodized more than anything else, but that is not a known issue.
Okay.
Upon my research, anyway. But again, the one issue is you could get that all galvanized is the other possibility. But again,
I'm used to a lot of galvanized products.
Yeah. But for this one, because it's really easy to split the cell section. So I've used really tiny, it's like 2 mil or something ridiculous.
Right.
And so almost like a panel pin, in effect, with a big head.
You need an air gun for that.
Yeah, I know, but I've got most of the equipment.
That'd be nice. Nice little.
Thin. I know, but then you buy too much equipment for the job, and all the gear and no idea is not a sort of scenario for most people, is it?
All the gear and no idea. Yeah. That's a shirt.
So
that's a shirt.
So I tend to try and stick with the absolute minimum, which is very odd for a DIY type fella.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in shock actually.
Yeah. So I much prefer to go quite old school, and I love my hammer anyway. So I'll happily whack around with that without too many problems whatsoever.
That could all be taken out of context.
That could be taken very out of context, and it's all true.
Which brings us nicely. So 2 hours left.
2 hours left. Yeah. And to be fair, once I've done those 2 hours, I know I'm going to look at some more bits and go, you know what? I need to keep going.
So do you have a timeline for when you're going to find these 2 hours, do you think?
Yeah, definitely next few years. Yeah. No, it'll be fine. No,
I'm thinking you're waiting for the father-in-law to come back and do the final touches?
I'll be waiting a long time. There's no way he's coming else for a while. I think it'll be one of those where there's just a lazy afternoon where something gets cancelled, and that tends to be the way.
Yeah.
And then, bless her, Natalie's got it all worked out. We've got these beers that look just like lemonade. There's amazing containers, so I can sit there with my lemonade in the garage, and I find it kind of helps as long as I'm not using power tools, and just to chill out. And I look at things for a very long time. I'd stand there. I mean, people walk past walking their dog like, who is this freak? Because I'm just stood there gazing at it, trying to work out which way am I really going to do this. But for me, that's therapy. Yeah. It's I really enjoy it. It's great.
Over the break, I put up a nice sale.
Nice. Well done, you.
And there was a small problem, of course.
Oh, always is.
Because I had a plan.
Yes.
And the plan was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant plan, because I have a shade. What do you call those? An awning.
Yeah.
That comes out. Well, this awning's about 50. We talked about this. It's a 15-year-old awning.
Yes.
And I just need to put a new awning thing on it. And then I just thought, but if I put a shade up, a sail up, I'm going to get better coverage.
Okay. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'll go get the sail. So I went over to SpeedX. Here we go. And I'm looking, and I'd done.
You did buy Coolroo, didn't you?
Oh yes.
Oh, thank God.
No, they had another brand, but I said no, Coolroo.
No.
I listen to the podcast.
Good. Me too, bizarrely.
And I did ask the guys, do you have? Because I was then looking at the Coolroo.
Yeah.
And I did get a home version. I did say to them, you got the industrial version? Because they got a better warranty. Not that I'm worried that I'm gonna use this warranty, but
I've never had a Coolroo product that I've needed any kind of warranty on.
Exactly.
I've got some that are 10 years old.
So I get the shade, I get the sail, and I planned a 3-meter span because I've got my wonderful awning that has hooks on it.
Oh no, that's never going to work. Oh no.
And I did the measurements and everything, and it didn't work.
No. So what you got a 3 meter to go into a 3 meter space.
Yeah.
So you've got no tension space.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
I could have told you.
Yeah, I know. I figured
it's one of these scenarios where you need the tension, and you're naturally going to pull it out of shape as you tension effectively.
Yeah.
And what you also find is I kind of like having lots of cable along the way to help tension effectively. And then at that point, especially with cable, so we've got maybe 6 now triangular that are used at all different heights under the kind of play area for the kids outside. And I've got my boys to do it. I know it's easy for me and all the rest of it, but Previously, we were using ropes for a lot of it.
So I listened to. So we're putting you on pause for a second because having listened to the conversations,
yes,
what I've done is I have used rope actually temporarily, but it's good quality climbing rope. So we're but temporarily because I want to just make sure this is where I want it to be.
Yes, exactly. That's a good idea.
And get a feel for it, and then I'm going to replace the ropes with.
But the other nice thing is, if you've got it tensioned correctly, it makes it a lot easier when, assuming that you're prepared to sacrifice the rope, to then put the cable in, get it tensioned to that level, then cut the rope, and that way you're home and free. It works really well.
So I got there we go.
Cool. Okay. Well, I definitely think it's nice. The problem is, I mean, I've got both, as you well know, and I really do like a canopy. You know, there's something about a canopy that's pretty cool, and your one has this awesome mechanism that's just it's not old, it's classic, it's awesome.
So I left it in place. I didn't take it down.
Oh, great, good.
Because my wife said, "Are we going to take it down?" I said, "You know what? Let's just leave it."
Yeah.
Because I'm going to source what it costs to just get a new thing put on, which I'm thinking is not going to be that much.
No, I don't think it will be either, and because they can do that locally. It's not something they have to order in. They can physically make it locally.
Exactly.
So in terms of the sail shade, have you got a workaround? Because you said it didn't fit the space.
Oh, yeah. So what I did is it comes up to my balcony.
Okay.
And there's these two big pillars. Yeah. So again, I've used a tying system that comes off of.
Strapped it?
Yeah, I've strapped it.
Right.
And it looks actually great. You don't even notice, actually.
Oh,
so it just works. And because of the length of things. And again, it's a temporary fix.
Yeah, but it'll work.
But for, I just want to make sure it's where I want it, how I want it. It's been there now for a couple of weeks.
Cool.
But I think this works. Now we'll do a better attachment. But the attachment works. So.
I find with sail shades, they tend to work a lot better if you have difference in elevation.
Right.
So the way that you've got it there sounds really logical. So back end high.
Yeah.
The other one that's nice is I find that if you can get like a difference laterally as well, then it makes it a bit more of an interesting structure.
Right.
Otherwise, top high and bottom low is better than all at the same height. But if you can get that variation, he says, moving the mic, very clever.
Well, and I've been looking at that because now the problem I've got is different times of the year, the way the sun's rising and setting changes the effectiveness of the shading.
Yes.
And either I need to get another one, maybe a triangular one now, and make it a nice little beauty piece, but also grab the more shade, or change the angle a little bit, which I could do.
I'll send you the images of what we did with ours. I can't wait to do that. It was all down to Natalie, in truth.
Okay.
My job was simple.
She's quite the designer, Natalie.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's her background.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a fashion designer.
Okay.
So my job was, Albert, have you got everything you need? Yes. Okay. Hand you over to Natalie then. And then she actually worked out how they were all going to go. And she's utterly aced it. I mean, it's absolutely stunning around there. And again, if you imagine the whole job, so 6 sail shades, I didn't have to pay for labour. My labour cost would have been around probably the 600 dirham mark. Okay. And I used 3 metre by 3 metre triangular.
Wonderful.
Coolaroos, which were, I got a bit of discount on that as well. Now I know Mr. Speedex. But I reckon I would have been all in probably at 1,600 for that area, which considering it's six shades, that's quite something.
And the Coolaroo out of Australia.
Yeah.
These are tried and true.
Oh yeah. They're really, really good.
You know what sold me on the Coolaroo? I mean, aside your statement where you had Coolaroos that you were no longer using.
Yeah.
You've had them for years and you pass them on to someone. I said,
they haven't degraded.
Yeah, I said, there we go.
No, absolutely.
I don't know what this material is. It's
well, if you imagine how UV stable it has to be to do 10 years without any degradation.
Yeah.
And still look good.
That's what I was thinking.
It's quite something. It really is.
I just thought.
So Coolaroo all the way. I mean, there just isn't a secondary brand.
A little bit of wind in there. It kind of moves it a little bit, but not much. I like it. I like it. They're alive. As my sons were looking, they go, you know what? They're perfect. It's alive.
Yeah. Well, that's the important thing, isn't it?
And I made it through rain and wind and nothing.
Is it this? Because you sent me a message saying you need a new drill. Was it this that killed your drill?
Did you drill it? Yeah. So, wow, yes. Because this is the thing. When I got the 3 meter thing hooked up, and remember I said, do you think I could hook it into a tree?
Yes.
Well, I did. but only one of the trees works. And no, it works actually really well.
Does it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The trees naturally would have movement. I mean, you'd lose.
Yeah, that's a big trunk tree. This tree does not move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I've trimmed these trees over the years. So no, there's a big piece, doesn't move.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Big, over-specced.
Always over-spec.
Oh, it's way over-spec.
Oh, I love over-speccing.
So then I get it all up in place and I'm looking and thinking, okay, well, the measurement of where the trees were was not something that I did really well.
Okay.
One of the trees, perfect.
Yeah.
The other tree that I thought, yeah, that's where I'm going to hook this thing. Not so perfect.
See, that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely legendary for just working it out as we go along. It drives Natalie crazy.
So I have a boundary wall beside the hot tub.
Yeah, of course.
And so I have it hanging there, and I'm going, look at my wife, and I'm going, you know what? We're going to put the other joint, the other connector on the top of the boundary wall. So that's where I went and got the drill out. And I'm drilling away with my hammer drill. Yeah. And perfectly sized anchor in there, everything. I mean, I did it all right.
Great, well done you.
And as I'm using this hammer drill, I'm up on the ladder. I've got it all done. I've got boots on. I had my WeWillFixIt safety construction cap on.
Excellent.
I'm doing it, and then I'm literally just finished, just down to where it needs to be. Yeah. And I you get the concrete dust everywhere. Yes. Yeah. There's way more dust than just concrete dust at this point. I'm going, oh, I think the motor is smoking. And you know that smell of burning plastic. Yeah, it was like, this drill's done. Yeah. But fortunately,
you were there.
I was there, and I was just like, that's exactly what I said. And then I was going, now I don't have a drill. Yeah. Now I'm drillless.
See, this is an interesting one as well, because there are drills out there that you can buy for 3,000, 4,000 dirhams.
Yeah. I've seen those.
There's just no need. I'm totally lost by it. I really, really am. Because you can get, I sent over to you the one that I use. And I use a Black & Decker 710 watt, which I've had for, probably had it for 3 years now. Okay. But it's a really odd one, because the standard 710, even their 800s, are around the 199 to 250 mark. If you spend an extra 50 dirhams on the one that I've got, you've got a metal gearbox. And that metal gearbox is a whole different world. Well, it means that it howls like a banshee. You've never heard anything like it. It's scary when you're using it in like a kind of way. It is really loud.
Everyone knows you're using the drill.
Oh yeah. I have to tell the whole house beforehand, even if I'm miles away. But it will go through anything. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's been totally and utterly reliable with a brilliant hammer action, because that's the other thing. If you're working on a nylon hammer action, it doesn't really give it the same hammer effect that you need. So, I mean, for me, this is just the absolute Billy bargain. It's got complete variable speed as well, either on a dial or on your finger. Okay. So it's great. Oh, and the laser gauge as well, because everybody needs a laser gauge. Yeah.
Do you use that laser gauge?
No, absolutely not. That's for rank amateurs. No, I will happily just go for it, and if it's a bit skew if I'll work around it at a later stage.
Is that what the laser gauge is supposed to do? Help you keep it straight?
Yeah, it's supposed to give you like a crosshair to give you an idea of where you're supposed to be headed.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I'm
anyway,
going to check that out.
Yeah, I've sent you the link on that one, and see where we go from there, which is good.
So there we go. We're sorted on that. And we've there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Yes.
Because you've got a home gym.
Yes, I have.
Did you do a room conversion for that?
Absolutely not. Did absolutely nothing apart from put the equipment in there. It would have been very, very easy to put in rubber mats and.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Rubber mats, change the painting on the walls so that you've got no.
Yeah. Simple reason, which is I know how dedicated we are to our exercise. And on that basis, I was giving it about 3 weeks at that point.
And are you still exercising?
Well, we are, but outdoor at the moment.
Right.
So Natalie and I are both kind of on it at the moment. And I'm consistent. She's dramatic. So I'm absolutely solid every day at just over 10,000 steps. I creep over the top of it, that was the figure I was always given as, look, if you're going to be lazy, if you're not going to be a committed athlete, do 10,000 at least. Right. So that's where I'm at. But I do that every single day without fail.
Do you track heart rate and all that kind of stuff to see if you're getting
I've got it, but I don't really spend much time on it, if I'm honest, because it's all about, I need to do it for either the dog walks or rather than, it's not, it's stuff that needs doing for me rather than actually getting time to go and just exercise. So
my problem with the dog walking is when I take my dog out for a walk, he doesn't want to walk because he's now so used to us going for a jog.
Oh, wow.
That if I go out walking the dog, in fact, I got a great story for you. I'll share that in a second. But if I go out just for a walk with the dog, he's looking at me and he's pulling on the leash. He's going, "What are we doing? What is this?" My two boys. So we got the dog, Brando.
Yeah.
He's clocking in at 55 kgs.
Really?
Yeah.
That's flipping huge. Bailey was not a small dog and he was 28.
Yeah, 55 kg. And he's not fat. It's just... So both of my boys, so I say to the boys, I say, so I typically run them in the morning and then I scooter them in the afternoon.
Nice.
And they're going, so my one son
says, slay him in the evening.
So you literally have, he's got the harness on him and I've got the leash on my hand, but you don't just have it through your hand and hold on. You got to wrap it around your hand once because you need to have.
Sounds like a rocket.
You need to have purchase. Wow. And so then you're holding on to the scooter and he's going. And so my first, my oldest son took him out on the scooter, and I gave him complete instructions. I said, "Look, you got to beware that he's car bumper height, and he's looking for cats."
Oh God!
So
on the scooter.
So he said, and they believed me, but only a little bit, until he's out on the scooter, and then the dog did a dart. But he wasn't in front of the scooter; he was behind the scooter, and oh yeah. And so then my youngest would go out with the oldest walking the dog, and the oldest said, "Do you want to walk the dog?" And he's going, "I'm not walking that dog." But my oldest,
he's defective.
My oldest came back on the second to last day that he was here. And he said, "I'm not walking your dog anymore." He comes back, he's look at my hand. He's got blisters around where the dog leash was pulling for a couple kilometers on his head. He says, "This dog's a maniac."
Just how we like it.
He said, "I think my shoulder's sore."
Ours just can't walk in a straight line. That's the problem that we've got.
Ah.
You've got Rolo, who basically wants to sniff everything and mark it. And then Paddington is just wants to pull, and he's birds as well. That's the ones that he really goes for. But they don't really have any coordination. And quite often, Paddington headbutts Rolo. And Rolo's like, "What are you?" You can see him, and you know exactly what his thought process is. What are you doing, you absolute fool? So it's always a battle. I mean, so much so that Natalie doesn't really enjoy the walk of both of them together.
My wife is not walking the dog.
Yeah.
She just said, she's given up. She said, "You know what? You walk the dog."
Yeah, so the days when I'm back, Natalie will go off, but she'll bash out 18 to 20,000 straight off the bat.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it is. But then, when I'm working, because she won't take the dogs out, she isn't able to do that much. So she has these massive peaks, and I have that consistency. And each of us takes the absolute liberties with the other one with their style. "Oh, you're never going to get to 20,000. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do 10,000 every single day. So I'm still got a weekly total higher than you." So it's one of those which is all part of our never-ending competition.
Strangest thing in my backyard these days, I've got this tree. I don't know what kind of tree it is. Whatever it is, this tree just grows.
Right.
And every afternoon, a rooster flies into the tree to torment the dog.
Okay.
A literal rooster.
How's that not been lunch?
Well, because the rooster is so far smart enough to not come down on the tree or jump into the yard. But the dog does wait under the tree every time.
I think I'd have to help with that process.